want live right in your sight, in your sight. In the God's eye, me want live right. Walk where you want me to walk. Talk where you want me to talk.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. How are you all doing this Easter Sunday afternoon?
Hi guys.
Resurrection Sunday afternoon. Candace and we just resurrected from us.
Yeah, guys, I just resurrected, literally. Just resurrected.
All right.
All is well.
Huh?
Do we say happy Easter?
I don't know. I don't habitually say happy Easter.
Okay, I just wanted to say it. Oh, no.
Okay. It's totally up to you. You'll be fine either way. All right, so I know it's been a while. We were supposed to be on week before last week, but we had some difficulties and we couldn't be here. So last episode will be aired. We'll come on the next date for that one. But today we're moving ahead with the schedule as planned. And today we are discussing marketing yourself.
Right.
I think the mind or the thought behind the episode is, Candace and I are young. We have friends, we know people, obviously. And in the season with COVID and stuff, a lot of things has happened, a lot of things have changed for a lot of people. Some persons, even before COVID, would have been home looking for jobs and these kinds of things. And let's be honest, we could all use, I recently did an interview and stuff like that, and we could all use a little help and a little boost and a little prep when it comes to these things, from how to do your resume, draft up your CV, how to put yourself, how much is too much to sell yourself, how much is just enough, you don't want to come across as proud, how to do your cover letter, how to prepare yourself for an interview, confidence is key, but too much confidence is a turn off and that kind of, so really and truly like how to balance yourself. So, when we were discussing the episode as a team, I was thinking like, which HR professional we could find, to bring to discuss this thing. And we already had an HR professional on in episode 1, Auntie Carol, right? And I was like, how are we going to find a HR professional or who could come do this with us? And then 2 persons, Candace and Chelsey, independently of each other, was like, what about Marc though? And I was like, well, Marc is not an HR professional, but I was like, but no, but like Marc has done well for himself, and he's somebody who's, moved his way through, I don't want to say the ladder or he's moved, right? And he's moved well. And, maybe it'll be good to hear from somebody on this side of things who's like us, having to apply and that kind of thing. And it turns out that Marc is also, I think I'm going to get it right, an assistant professor at a university in the US.
By the way, Marc is her brother, yeah? The way, like she's not saying that, but Marc is her brother. Sorry, right.
I was leaving that for you to say.
I'm hoping that is right.
Right. Yeah, so part of his role as well as a professor, assistant professor, it would be to help prepare his students for the workplace and stuff. So that was my contextual introduction of the episode, and Candace will introduce my brother. No,
guys, I've known Marc all my life, literally all my life. Marc is very warm-hearted, always willing to help person. Mateela said, although he isn't, HR isn't his thing, when I was doing some applications to apply for school in Canada, because I still want to pursue my master's in organizational psychology, I went to Marc, and Marc helped me. Marc was so patient. He helped me in doing, he had something like a little essay. That's like everything. That essay has to be like, that's what it does when you get into the school. And Marc really, really assisted me, and I got in. I didn't start the program as yet, but I got in. And that's the most important thing. So guys, coming to the show is someone who is excellent in everything that he does. He's excellent in anything that he does. He could even cook. I lying. Marc can cook. I taste his food already. He could even cook. He has a beautiful wife and 2 children who, I was going to say children all my life. A beautiful wife who has known me all my life. And he has a son and a daughter. And I know he's going to drop some serious gems for us here today as we move on. So bring it to the show, guys. And you're going to see how much he looks like Mateela. You're going to see how much Mateela looks alike. Okay, I'm done. Okay, bring it to the show, guys. Marc stuck.
Hello.
Hello,
Hey,
thanks. Hello, Candace. Hello, Tila. How y'all doing?
We good.
Good. Very good. Very good.
How was
How are you doing?
everybody? How was everybody out there doing? Good.
Yeah,
Well, I
man.
can't see everybody, but saying hello to everyone.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
before we jump off, Candace and I tried to give a little very informal introduction to yourself, but maybe
It
you
was
could
good.
tell the viewers a little bit like exactly what you do, whether I got the title correct or not,
You
and
got
just tell us a little bit about yourself.
you got things correct. Well, I am Marc. I am, as everybody, as both Mateela and Candace alluded to, I'm Mateela's brother. I've known Candace all her life, right? And for a greater proportion of mine, right? We went to the same church. I currently, a professor, assistant professor in business school. I uh, do teaching and research and service and stuff in an area of supply chain management. And before that, I worked in the industry in for fairly large retail organization. And before that, I did quite a bit of different types of banking. So that was good. That was good. That was interesting. I'm very, very happy to be here. And to the extent I could share a perspective, I'm glad to do so. I have been on the interviewee side, the interviewing side, and prepare people now in different capacities to do those things. So thankful to be here.
Awesome to have you. So I
Yeah.
guess we could start, like we take it in the stage process, I guess. Preparing the CV and stuff. But before that, and we know like now in Trinidad in particular, there are a lot of people who have completed school, have their degrees, well educated, some with experience, some without experience. But the job market could be a little bit sticky right now.
Mhm.
And we have instances where there are probably hundreds of people, maybe hundreds is an exaggeration, I'm not sure, but a lot of people applying for 1 position here, 2 position here, 3 position here. So it's obvious that your documents that you will be submitting or whatever needs to make you stand out. So the question I'm starting with is, in that space, how does somebody, like, where does your mind have to be in order to begin to put your package together to make you stand out?
Okay, that's a good question. I think, could I go a step further back and then into that? All right. So
Yeah.
I think, and not trying to sound, I was asking Mateela before the show how what how I should talk, because I don't want to overdo it in terms of tonguing on too much heights and stuff like that. But one of the things that I think is very important, very, very important, that practically is to be doing the right thing. So I think before somebody gets involved in trying to market themselves,
Yeah.
one of the things they should be doing is making sure they're trying to market themselves in the right field, right? And that means that there's a whole other conversation as to, are people doing what they're supposed to be doing, right?
Right. So you're talking
Um,
about along purpose lines here?
along purpose lines, I mean, I think that is the bedrock of everything, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that God has created all of us, and we all have a purpose, and because of that purpose, we've all been given certain gifts, right? And I think in this life, the goal is to exercise those gifts. And actually, again, I will get very practical, but actually, if you exercise those gifts, I believe you have very little marketing to do. But
Right.
that's a whole other.
Other
We don't
discussion.
want to. Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, I think from a marketing yourself, let's assume that somebody's doing what they believe they're supposed to do. I think they are, and you putting together like do you want to start from like the CV spot or the mind frame?
Yeah.
The mind frame, you said.
Yeah, the mind frame, and particularly asking to like speak to people who in the waiting and facing the situation where they have been applying for jobs, but they're not baiting.
Okay.
Probably like a little encouragement, a little guidance as to how, and then that will help you flow into how
Okay,
you
good.
ought to present,
Okay,
yourself on
good.
paper.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So I think that if you're applying for jobs and you're not necessarily seeing any sort of response from employers and that type of stuff, there are various things that can be going on. I think before talking about those things, the major thing to understand is your time will come, right? Your time will come, right? It will come, I think things come to people. Some people it take a month, other people it take 10 months, but your
Yeah,
time will come, right? By God's grace. That's one.
definitely.
Two, I think that knowing that your time will come, there are a number of things that happen. So I had a conversation with somebody recently that was facing that particular position where they like, hey man, I'm sending out my resume and I'm sending out this information and I'm not really getting the types of responses that I think I got. Right. So I said, okay, let me see your resume. And the first thing that I noticed is the resume wasn't formatted properly at all. Right.
Wow.
Um, and one of the things I suggest to do is to go look at how to format a resume properly. Now, the advice I'm about to give gonna sound very simplistic, but Google, right? Go to Google, right? And whatever you can type in resume examples for the field that you want to get into, and format your resume properly, right? Let's put that aside.
And by formatting, we're talking about justification of paragraph so that paragraph's not dancing all over the page.
That's that. Yes. So the structure of the resume, yes. The
Yeah.
other part about it is the wording within the resume, and this is why. This is what is happening. For any one job, employers receive scores, if not hundreds, if not thousands of resumes. No one person is going to look through all those resumes. So there are different degrees of technology sophistication, but in almost all instances, what happens is some form of program or something looks over those resumes before they get to somebody's eyes. And what they look for are certain keywords. So if you're going for a particular type of job, let's say you're going for a particular type of job, you want to be a cook, or you want to be a lawyer, or you want to be a teacher. And let's say in a cook, the words food and kitchen is nowhere on your resume not going into the next rounds. Legal, the word contract and law not in your resume going into the next one. So I'm not trying to sound overly simplistic. The thing what you have to do is for every field, there are key terms and words that are used in that field. You need to ensure that those key terms are on your resume, right? Now, when it comes to structuring a resume, there are also certain patterns you should probably follow. The first is generally you want to have some sort of objective or mission at the top that lets people know what you are about, right? Um, there four things a resume wants to convey. What's your mission? What is your education? What is your experience? And what are the other things that you have done that are able to show or articulate to somebody you want to work for that you are worth hiring, right? So all together, you call that like your value proposition. And a question, I was speaking to a group recently, and told them the question you have to ask yourself and be honest to yourself is, what is your value proposition in this life? Why would somebody hire you over someone else, right? And what happens is, right, in many instances, two people can have the same qualifications. 10 people could have the exact same qualifications.
Yeah.
So at some particular point in time, qualification becomes what you call an order qualifier. It's simply just to get you, just to be considered. After that, it is what is your value proposition to the world. But I don't want to talk too much. I hope I answer the question there. I don't know.
No. You're going good. So, value proposition. Let's break that down a little bit. How does one? How do you? Because you're saying somebody ought to know what their value proposition is. How do I determine what my value proposition is? Is it just based? Well, it's not just based on educational qualification, but it's going to be based on probably like other skill sets and whatever. How do I go about picking out those things about myself to determine what my value, or coming into a full understanding as to what my value proposition is?
Okay, good. I think that's an awesome question. So I think to determine your value prop, anybody that wants to say, hey, how can I figure out what is something that I bring that no one else could bring? First, you have to have a very good understanding of whoever you want to serve, whether you want a job or you want to get into business for yourself. There would be a particular type of employer or company you would like to work for, or particular type of market you want to do business in. What does that company or what do those businesses want? What is the need of your customer? Exactly what do they want in a position, right? That's the first thing to figure out. The other thing to figure out is, what do most people have who are like you that want to do that? What are some of the things that almost everybody will have? So what are some of the strengths of some of the people you may be competing with in that role? And then when you look at what are some of the strengths that you may be competing with and how those strengths of others help serve the needs of the organization or business or market you're trying to get in, anything that you may have that you clearly see that other competitors wouldn't have, but somehow it could map and serve something the customer or the business want, that is where you can begin to explore for your value proposition. So what I tell people is, a lot of the times your value proposition isn't something that is tangible.
Right.
It is something that some characteristic you have or some sort of trait that was developed based on experiences you have. So what I try to tell people is, a lot of the time when you're going for jobs or trying to get a job or a business opportunity, a lot of the time what differentiates people will surprise people. A lot of the time it is personal traits, it's characteristics that separate people, right? So let's say two people have the same degree, right? What somebody may want is, how does someone who here would like to hire somebody if you tell them they do something wrong, they kick a fit and going out the door, right? If you hire somebody and you try to correct them, they can't take correction.
Yeah.
You hire somebody and every day you get into go on time, but one day some emergency come up and it requires somebody to stay back for an hour. I say, me, and this I gone, right? You know, these are the types of things that start to erode at a value proposition. So a big thing is your brand. What is the brand that you have developed? So a lot of the times marketing yourself starts way before you go for a job. A lot of the times marketing yourself is what you did before you go for a job, because that speaks for itself. I'm not talking too vague, right? Am I talking vague?
No, you're doing a really, really, really good job.
Okay, I hope I'm
I
not sounding too
I
vague.
ain't talking yet, but I'm soaking in every single thing. Like it's going very good.
All right. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I wasn't being too vague because I wanted to the best I could. I want to help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
definitely helping. So you were just saying, um, your value proposition will be based on your experiences, intangibles, and stuff like that. And you said that marketing yourself begins even before putting
Mm-hmm.
yourself out there for a job or putting yourself out there to take advantage of a business opportunity or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, so it means branding. Like, branding is a trending topic, right? You hear a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people talking about your branding, your branding, your branding. I'm not even sure if I understand properly what your branding is. But I would assume, and not assume, I mean, I can imagine that your branding would be, um, it would be physical. It would be, your branding would include how you look, how you carry about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Your branding would also be probably some tangible product. If it's a business opportunity, it would be how you package your product. In
Mm-hmm.
my field of work, I am an attorney at law, and you always make the joke to people that I am the product, I am the service, and I am everything as well. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
my point is that branding then becomes something that's very important because, I mean, nobody wants to have an attorney that's looking shabby. If you're looking
Mm-hmm.
shabby, people are gonna be like, that is an attorney that not making no money. People
Yeah.
don't want an attorney who's speaking a particular way. So, people have ideas as to how people in a particular profession, so like you're a professor, people have an expectation that your brand will look a particular way. And I
Mm-hmm.
know of instances out here, there are people that I know who are, um now this might be slightly off topic, but still on topic, but I think still relevant, right? But there are people I know who want to enter particular fields, or on their way to enter in particular fields, but you have this concept now that I don't need to look a particular way to be a professional in a particular field. So my branding doesn't have to meet the branding of the specific field. So I want to be a corporate runner or corporate stunner or corporate whatever, but I want to have like orange hair with a big with a big fancy design on the side of my head, nails down to my knees, and all these kinds of things. So how do we balance this new wave of I am who I am kind of thing into branding, and how these things really affect? So like you as a professor, I don't know. Some students may walk in your class and be quite, but then you're in a business school, so maybe not. I don't know. But that's the question I have.
Mm-hmm. So I'll answer it first this way. Don't let anything you want to do get in the way of something you need to do. Right? So there are many things we want to do. There are many things I want to do when the day comes, right? So I like just on that topic, I'll tell you something. For years, my wife laughed at me. For years, I've been saying, man, one day I just want to grow out my hair. For years,
Yeah.
I can't go past like 3 weeks without cutting my hair, right? I'm not saying that people need to do that. I think everybody has their particular space. That's what you're speaking to, right? But
Yeah.
this is what I do know professionally, right? There's so much you could do. The way others or a system or an institution or an organization thinks could be right based on your value system, or it could be wrong based on your value system.
Yeah.
You could do so much to change the way other people think, right? But when the way other people think could influence an opportunity for yourself, you have to decide if the thing you opposing is something that is nice to have or something that you need to have. It is my recommendation. Anything that falls in this is a nice to have or just because I tell you so, right? If you are willing to pay the price for it, then go straight ahead. My advice to people is, once something does not come against your moral ethics and codes, damage you physically in any way, has any sort of long-lasting, perpetual, psychological damage on you, it really comes down to how much you want to do something. Now, back to brand. To help people understand a bit about what a brand is. Your brand is, if I go and get everybody you have worked with and interacted with most closely over the past 2 years, put them in one room, and you are not there, your brand is what those people say about you when you're not there. That is what your brand is. So let's look at take that and look at a product, a physical product. There are particular physical products we like to purchase one over the other. And that's for a number of reasons. First of all, on the outside, packaging matters. That's why companies spend money in packaging, right? So we're using an analogy here, right?
Yeah.
So packaging matters. Packaging matters with brands, right? So how something look, right? But when you finish with the packaging and you open the pack, right, the product itself must be good. So the product itself must be useful. The product itself, but if it's something to eat, it have to be tasty. If it's some type of laundry detergent or something, it has to actually work. So something could look real good and don't work. Something could work and be the best. Something could work. So this is the trick here. Something could work and be very good. You could be very skilled and be very good, but you're not packaged correctly, so nobody ever knows that you're very good. Right? So what you want to do is make sure your packaging is straight and your skills, your skill sets are where they need to be, right? In order for your brand to be something that people remember and talk about. What do people say about you when you're not there?
Wow, that is some really good stuff. So, Marc, in the instance where someone they are aware that their brand or their characteristics or their reputation wasn't good for whatever reason, they had a bad attitude, they carried about themselves, was scruffy, and they want to make it right. How can one bounce back, or how can one recover, or how can one now begin or do some damage control to get to the place where they desire to be?
That's a very good question. I think I'll attempt to answer it in a way that I think could be helpful. So, for this one, the cornerstone of it, I believe, is what we believe to be the truth, right? So, today is Easter. Jesus resurrected. One of the reasons Jesus resurrected is because, hey, we all have chances again and again and again. So the base there is it's never too late to bounce back. There's always a time to redeem, to change, to do that stuff, right? That is the truth, right? Nobody can go far enough to not bounce back, right? Good. Let's get practical now. The road back could look different for different people depending on how far off you were, right? So let's start with like coming back. If, for instance, you had a damaged reputation or something like that, right? If somebody had a damaged reputation in a particular organization with particular folks in a particular context, and that person wants to stay and grow there, I think two things have to happen, right? A change in behavior that becomes noticeable.
Yeah.
Right? When that change in behavior that is noticeable starts to lead to tangible results that are positive, it now puts that person in a position to go have a discussion.
Right.
And to go have a discussion that says, hey, X and Y took place in the past. And that person says, yeah, no, but you're doing this now and look at this. Mm-hmm. And you get put in a position now where you have redeemed yourself per se through action, right?
Okay.
I do believe there are some instances where what was done could be grave enough or tough enough that somebody may need to seek a new environment
Okay.
to sort of wipe the slate clean professionally. Start off with, because you're working with human beings. So what happens sometimes, some people are able to let things go, some people aren't able to let things go. Now, very practically, there are a number of things professionally that you do to rebound, right? So professionally, one of the things you do to rebound is upskill yourself, right? Look at what is needed in the industry, in the company you are, and you put an extra foot ahead. Go take an extra class. Go get some more certification. Go do stuff. If your issue is how you talk and stuff, go and look at the little communication videos on YouTube. Hey, we in the internet age, you can develop yourself for free or close to free, right? Go to a little Coursera, go to a little Udemy, go to a little EDX and look for courses and improve yourself, you know? And I think doing that allows you to rebound. But I will say this. Nothing in the professional world replaces technical competence for whatever you do. You could look the best. You could talk the best. I've worked with people, they're good talkers, very good talkers. They could sell, they could close. But at the end of the day, are you good at what you do? There's some things professionally, like if you have a cake, right? Like you have a real nice cake. It's a number of things, right? A real nice cake, right? So the packaging, how you present yourself, how you look, those types of things are like icing, right? When you're walking down the street, what catch your eye with a cake is the icing.
Yeah.
But I bet if you cut that cake and it didn't taste good, the icing don't matter. Right? So what you have to do is take care of things physically. And that means different things for different people. Some people go down a real range as to what it means to physically take care of yourself. And look, you know, that gets very subjective. I think for everybody, taking care of yourself means something. You do that, right? From a Christian context, for those of us who adhere, and that's what we do on this show, right?
Yeah.
The Bible actually says that is our reasonable, or quote in bracket, expected service to take care of ourselves, right? And that is for a reason, right? And then nothing can replace your technical skill for what you do. The Bible is replete or full of examples of men and women of God, women and men of God, for anybody that prefer that sequence of it, right? That God is able to and was able to use them because it is their professional skill that got them to the places to have influence. And God was able to use them. Right? So I hope that answered it, Candace. You have to go, you have to kind of keep me from veering off.
No, that was good. That was excellent. Thanks, Marc. Thanks.
Of course, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So, good stuff so far. Good stuff. My mind's still milling as we go in, right?
Yeah.
So that's we discussed the branding there. We discussed the before. I mean, you've spoken about how important your technicalities is. I mean, your technical skill, how important branding is, and I think that covers physically presenting yourself, and it hammers home how important it is to be competent. The actual presenting yourself on paper or whatever, that's a different skill set altogether. That's an exercise that we can't do on a platform such as this, right? But
it's tough to do on a platform like this.
That's not an exercise that could be done now. But maybe that's something we could look at doing in another way or somehow.
Yeah, of course, I'll be glad to. What I could tell people to do is there's a website, careerbuilder.com, for instance. Go to careerbuilder.com, right? And type in the type of job you want. And a ton of information comes up on what that job is, right? Go to Google If I want to be a legal analyst, type legal analyst resume example in. Look at
Yeah.
what comes back and structure your resume based on that, right? Go and look at people that have done what you are doing and just trying to emulate those types of resumes, you start on the right track.
Most definitely.
You see what I'm saying?
I see exactly what you're saying. So, I mean, well, I know you're my brother. And you've had what anybody will determine or what anybody will call very good success in the corporate arena. And
Thank you for God, eh?
yeah, because God is good. I mean, we will get into exactly what you did, how this thing went in our last episode in the season when you're coming back. So we don't want
Yeah.
to do any spoilers now. So we won't get into
No
that
problem.
now. But you know, we know you've had reasonable success. And I think for me, I would say that I am now starting off in a career, full-fledged career, having now completed all my studies or whatever.
Hey,
And
I know starting off too.
nah, Dan, you've been start. You done start. You start all right, right?
Yeah, every
But
day is
you're
a new
continuing.
start.
You're continuing, right?
Yeah.
But it would be good for you to kind of share with us a little bit of your motivation, where you would have sourced some of your direction, your strategy, or your approach to your corporate and your professional life. Probably from whether it be from parents, mentors, whatever, and more particularly, I know for a fact, like for me, I tend to see through a lot of Bible characters and stuff, certain strategies or certain lessons and principles that could be learned that could be directly applied to professional life that makes a difference and brings results. So I don't know if you have any, you could probably share some of your experiences and how these things would have applied or whatever, but just bearing in mind, not too much spoilers for the.
Yeah. I wouldn't get too much into that other stuff, but I could share on that. I think for starters, again, without trying I really not trying to over index on something, but it is just a plain truth. And that is, if you pray and ask God to show you what you should be doing and you genuinely mean it, I 100% believe God will show you what you should be doing. And I think that is the start of it. No, I think God is so amazing. I could say in my case, when I look at influences, I think for me it started at home, right? So God is the center of everything. I also think some of the influences came for me from home, from exposure to certain things. Clearly, for me, especially what I did professionally. When I look back, this is why I believe nothing in your life is by chance.
Yeah.
Whether it is something you perceive to be positive or something you even perceive to be something you do prefer. I think in the running of time, you look back and look at the magnificence of God. So when I look at growing up at home, for instance, a huge heavy influence for me that influenced me a lot was a lot of emphasis on reading. I think my mother with a lot of stuff with reading and books and learning, and then from my father with what he did professionally in finance. So because of what he did professionally in finance, there were these magazines he used to bring home. I don't even know if he knew I used to read them off on his side. And one of them was Harvard Business Review. One of them was Accounting Today, and one of them was something else. And it's in these things I see these people like in the Harvard Business Review stuff. See people whose professors was looking at, hey, what was that? Then see people who work, for instance, in finance, wonder that. So all those things started to take shape from that perspective. Another huge influence for me was church, and I always tell people, for me personally, and Candace's dad and mom, particularly Pastor Griffith, in terms of what I believe to be, for me, from a relatively young age, providing a platform to do certain things. Right? So providing a platform to do things like in youth group and lead groups, and providing a platform to share the word. All these things, when you look back, are things that for me help shape me. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you take a close look at your life right now, don't over focus on it right now, but know for sure that God is big enough, smart enough, complex enough, that there are things you don't even understand about your situation today that is literally preparing you for
For
what
when
is
to
next.
be.
Very
Yeah.
good. Now, let's move on. Let's move on to the next part and take us to some of the influences, right? We have a responsibility to develop ourselves. God gives gifts. He don't come and bother you every day to develop it and exercise. God not gonna come down from heaven and tell you wake up early. God not gonna come down from heaven and tell you, hey, pick up yourself and do some studying. Pick up yourself, go and talk to this person, go talk to that person, go talk to this person. Now, significant influences for me biblically, right? So there's my parents, they were professional mentors, but I think is so let me say God, my parents. I think a very huge influence of mine in terms of biblical teaching that infused a certain type of way of thinking and the way I approach things biblically. I think the late Dr. Myers Monroe, for me, a lot of his teaching and a lot of what he was I studied a lot of what he did a lot. Dr. A.R. Bernard, um, a lot of that sort of stuff. But biblically, everybody has different characters and stuff. People in the Bible that I took a lot of lessons from, I would say there are a number that come off the top of my mind, but the three most um, distinct are Daniel, Joseph,
Right.
and then for some things David, and I will break down um, why. I think let me start with David because I think for me personally, Daniel is the most, Joseph, but David. But I want to start with David because I think there's a lot of things David teaches us that is very applicable for how to conduct yourself in situations that are not the most favorable to you. We all are in jobs or in situations where you don't like certain things. Let's
Right.
face it, it has some people you report to and work with you don't like. Sometimes it's not justifiable. Sometimes you could justify why. At the same time, irrespective of whether we could justify it or not, God expects the same response from us. And I
Yes.
think David is an excellent example of how to conduct yourself consistently. Now, just like us, he made mistakes, but the period of David's life before he was crowned, well, before he assumed, not before he was anointed to be king, but before he actually assumed the thing. Those years between 15 years old to 30 years old, those 15, about approximately 15 years, have been an amazing instruction for me. When Saul realized David's capability and everything was coming against him, the
And you know,
Bible said,
just stick up, just to make the point land. There are a lot of situations in workplaces where supervisors and bosses and stuff recognize certain skills and talents and stuff in their subordinates. And they decide, okay, you have this skill, you have the skill set, and they make things very, very difficult for you. So that's just to learn that like how practical the Bible is and how practical and applicable what you just said is to like our every they live in.
Extremely applicable. I mean, we live in a world where everybody's different from the perspective of how people perceive things. Some people will see your capabilities and be happy for you and help you. Other people will see your capabilities, be happy for
Yeah.
you and can't help you. Treat those people very good. Some people are just not able to take you where they
Yeah.
believe you could go, but their
Yeah.
intention is good. There
Yeah.
are others that could help you but choose not to.
And some that see your capabilities as a threat.
And then others who can't help you and don't like you, right? In all instances, the response is supposed to be the same, though,
The
right?
same,
So
yeah.
the Bible says that David behaved himself wisely in the house of Saul. And my advice is to behave yourself wisely while you're on the road to going where you go. The very meaning of the word blessed. So the word blessed has different components. One of them, my dear friends, right? Fortunate, prosperous, favored. Another one is envied, right? There is, and this is a little high table, I must say. There is no way you could serve God, God's favor be on your life, and at some point in time, somebody watch out and just can't take it. There's no way, right? So you have to be able to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
So I think reading the life of David and how he did things, there are instances where the allusion is David is in a cave and Saul who's fighting him right there. He's right there. He has a knife. He's right there. He could take him down, right? There are things where people treating you a certain way professionally. You can go and report them. You can go and show them up. You can shine a light on them. Behave yourself wisely. Conduct yourself in a way that God could advance you. There's a certain type of person, a certain type of mentality you need to have for God to advance you. For God to advance you, he has to know he could use you. He has to know somebody could say this about you and you don't lose your top. You don't blow your top off. And it takes time to learn that. I have learned and still learning some of that, right? This is life, right? So that I'm gonna move quickly. Joseph, right? Joseph now is an example of when you have that capability. There's lots of things you can talk about to Joseph, but when you have that capability, I was sharing with somebody last night. One of the first things you see with Joseph is he got some of the ramifications of what it is to have a particular capability and dream and share it and talk it too much. So one of the things I have learned from Joseph is you need to be able to have a certain type of capability, have a certain type of vision, capability, sometimes, often for God to use. Remember, God created us all. So he drops things inside of us. He drops desires, professional desires. And the reason God drops professional desires, God say we are like salt. We need to spread throughout the world, right? And the workplace, right? So God need cooks, God need doctors, God need lawyers, God need firemen, God need policewomen, God need professors, God need business people, God need geography people because we need to spread, right? So that desire you have, you should pursue it because God put that in there. But one of the things you have to understand, as we see with Joseph, is when God put that desire and vision in you, sometimes the desire and vision you have is bigger than the place you currently are at. And that can be a very, very frustrating thing, right? So there may be people listening that you feel frustrated because if you're serving God and you want to get there. If you don't knowledgeably serve God today, and that's an awesome thing to do, so pray that you do, right? But you're still not exempt for that feeling, right? Where what you want is so big, but your circumstance around you doesn't sort of point to that. There's still a way to conduct yourself. You have to be very careful who you share your dreams with, who you share your aspirations with, who you share your goals with, right? Because what happens is not everybody can take that. So same Joseph. So that's the first thing he learned. That's what make him end up in the pit. Talking about, hey, I see this, this is why I want to do, this is why I want to do. The other day I was speaking to a very intelligent person, young person, very intelligent, and they wanted a little advice. And they proceeded to tell me, yeah, I was telling my bosses, I'm a boss, I'm a boss. I want to learn this and do this so then I could go and do my own business. And then I had to stop them after they finished and said, hey, be very careful how you share that. So that's the first thing, one of the things I learned. You have to be careful what you share professionally. But the other thing with Joseph that you learn is that every single aspect of what you do and every person you meet along the way professionally is somebody God is putting in your life or a situation that will propel you to where you need to go. Right? There are situations. You know where Joseph real practiced them dream thing in prison. Right? Sometimes you in a job, it's feeling like prison. Right? If you're feeling trapped, right? Don't focus on where you're at. Focus on what you're able to do. Because I guarantee you that God put you in that situation. Because when the stage, you see, God's so magnificent. He put you in situations where it's small to practice. Make mistakes there. Right? So when the stage get big, so he practiced that in prison. He didn't know those things he was practicing would have to come into play to save Egypt in famine. He couldn't make a mistake on that stage.
Yeah.
Right? So respect the process for God, right? And then my favorite is Daniel, right? And I just think because that the Bible says Daniel had an excellent spirit,
Yeah.
right? And having an excellent spirit means not perfection. Excellent isn't perfection. None of us perfect. God alone is perfect. We can be perfect in Him, right? But God alone is perfect. But having an excellent spirit is pursuing everything you do, right? With the best of your ability. I tell people personally what I believe to do professionally that helps you is if you have a report to write, an email to write, a yard to sweep, a car to wash, a document to finish, a report to type up, type that, sweep that, wash that, cook that as if you're cooking a plate of food for God. As if you're sending that email to God. If you knew that email was going to God, how would you write it? If you knew that report was one God had to take to go and show somebody, look what my daughter and son do, what would you do? And that is approaching things with a spirit of excellence, right? So those were some of the examples that I have. I think I talked way too long.
Man, boy, that was good. That was good. Anthony, what's
There are
stood
a lot
out?
of different things that could change, but if that's just a high level of, I think,
Right.
that's things that just come to mind. Yeah.
I love the David example, especially because, thinking of the accounts, David had so much opportunities to get at Saul. He could have even
Yes.
used Jonathan against his own father, and David didn't.
Yes.
He didn't.
Nope.
And now, contemporary society, bad mind is the thing. Doing what I want to get at whoever and not caring. That is
Yeah.
how society is now in the workplace, bad mind, climbing the ladder and risking it all and not catering for the person around you. You just want to get where you want to get and you don't care. And people are proud in the fact that they don't care. And they are proud
Yeah.
in the fact that they will do what they have to do, even if it means hurting you to get where they need to go. And these people use for that is bad mind and they are proud. I remember somebody told
Yeah.
me a point in time that they are very bad mind and I am lucky that they are treating me in a particular way. That is just how people are now and I started a new job recently. This might be going a little off topic too, but I just wanted to
That's fine.
mention it.
I think I went off topic also. So
I started a new job recently and I was home for about a year. And the job I had before this one, before I was home, I didn't have much interaction with staff really because it was a classroom setting. So the main persons you would have interacted with were the children. I didn't really interact with the staff as I am doing now. And I realized how hard it is to be a Christian in a workplace. It is extremely hard to stand out for the things of God in a workplace. Simple things. what you laugh at, what you entertain, what you rush, what you just hand up just so I'm not hearing. So it's hard to be a Christian. It's hard to be that have that spirit of excellence in a workplace. And I really, really want to commend persons who have been doing that because it is extremely hard. And the persons who aren't doing it, I really want to encourage you to do it because at the end of the day, although they may laugh, although they may heckle, although they may tease, they are watching and they're observing your behavior and they're observing what you're doing, just as they would have observed Daniel. And at the end of the day, you always stand strong. Daniel was able to be the lion's den and not get bitten, come out like if nothing never happened. Joseph got favor beyond measure. David ended up being king, and David's seed was blessed. So you might see the fruit of it in the moment, and also like the point where you say stay where you are at that point in time and just soak in what God is doing in that season. It doesn't have to be a final destination. My current job is not my final destination, but I know as always Mateela's always telling me, Candace, you're building that CV. Candace, God have it there for a purpose. And it's so true. So I really want to say one last thing. Do not be fazed by the season you are currently in. It is not your final destination. It's just a part of the plan. Just have to allow God to do what He's doing. Don't slacken your ride. Don't get comfortable. Don't say, okay, well, you just settle there. And that was some real good stuff there, Marc. If anything, I think I'm not talking down any other show we had so far, but this one for the season, Mateela, ministering me, this special was for me.
God is good. God is good. I'm talking to myself too. I could say one more thing, Holly.
Yeah, man. You go ahead.
How much more time we have? Like I see 1 minute and 30 seconds in.
No, we just roll.
Okay. All right. So there is the examples I said about people, right? Now there is this what I think professionally. This is another influence, and I seen it with a smile. That I tell you something. I was telling my wife. Look, there are many things in my childhood I am so thankful for. But there are things that happens when you don't understand them when you're young, but you understand them now. So one of the things my father used to do consistently was take us in family devotion to the book of Proverbs. I could still hear in my mind, right? In the bed, I used to go one part of the bed, right? And then he on this side, my mom on this side, my brother on that side of my mother. I remember clearly Proverbs consistently. Let me tell you something. There are many good things my father's done for me, but that to this day has been one of the most pivotal things for me professionally. Let me share this with you. You see, Proverbs, when it comes to conducting yourself in the workplace, just read the book of Proverbs. Sometimes if you're not feeling real overly spiritual and you just want to read something, go and read Proverbs. Just read Proverbs. Just read the book of Proverbs. Get yourself if you don't want the real height versions of the Bible, get a New Living Translation or something. Read the book of Proverbs. It will teach you and instruct you how to conduct yourself in the workplace. That is key, right? The other thing I wanted to share professionally, one of the things I like Daniel is not because only of his spirit of excellence, but for all of us on the show, on Mateela and Candace show, on Candace and Mateela show, according to the sequence they want that in, right? Is God shows what He does for us in the workplace, right? So I was discussing this recently with someone. Daniel went to Babylon, and let's say Babylon, what metaphorically, first that means a big workplace, a real large place, real things going on. He went there as a prisoner, right? Daniel's spirit of excellence predated him going to Babylon. Daniel had a spirit of excellence in the way smaller place he came from, right?
Yeah.
What he was nobility there, right? So he had a spirit of excellence there, right? But God took him on a bigger stage, right? But the path to that bigger stage was like being captured. Like, what's this going on here? Right? And sometimes professionally, it's like, what's this going on here? What's this going on here? Is God transitioning you to a bigger space? But let's look at what happens when God gets you to that bigger space. God doesn't expect you to do it. You know what Daniel did in the bigger space? Pray 3 times a day and study. He prayed and he studied. He prayed and he studied. He prayed and he took care of himself. Esther did the same thing, by the way. They prayed and they studied and took care of themselves. Get qualified. Pray, take care, watch what they eat. That's all they did. But look at what God did. God says in our workplace, when it come time for evaluation, when it come time for whatever, the Bible says that God made them find favor in the boss's eyes. The reason I get to that is the heart or the foundation of marketing yourself. Right? It's literally doing your work. Because when you do your work, God then has a platform to bring you favor in the eye of the employer. Not only that, but part of that favor now is God make them 10. Go and read it. God did it. So what I'm trying to say this is for the people that feeling frustrated in a situation, right? Your job isn't to turn it around. It's frustrating. It can be a captivity scene. It can be something you don't understand. You have to discipline yourself. You can't do what other people doing. People are doing all kind of fancy thing, Daniel, eating vegetables and water, dashing and water, right? But God used that platform now to say, hey, I could advance you. Now, God made them 10 times wiser than anybody. God do that. God is able to make you perform professionally 10 times better than anybody that working around you because you are his child. I just pray that. Right? No. The other thing, and I'll stop with this one here before we discuss what next. Because this is an important part in Daniel here that I think is good for Christian professionals to see. There was a time in that story when the king had a dream. Now, think about your workplace. Your boss, your company, trying to grow market share, trying to develop this social program. You have this class to teach. You have this catering job to do. You have this piece of music to compose. But you don't understand. The king had a dream. And he come to all the smart people in the company and say, hey, I had a dream, but I can't remember it. Right? Or they tell me what I dream. And everybody in the company, basically in the story say, but this king, what was this man saying? We can't do that. And in those days, the king say, if all they can't do me that again, rid of you, then taking all you out, right? Use that in a corporate example. If you can't bring the exam, you're useless in this company. If you can't bring an exam, if you can't do your job, you're useless, right? But as God's kids professionally, we're not useless. The Bible said, right, that God gave Daniel. He had Daniel, right? He gave him. God could give you. God gives me. God gives all of us here the solution to the king's needs. We as his children have the solution to the king's needs. Let me tell you something. Where you work, it's fortunate you working there.
Of course.
Because if you understand that because you there, you have the solution to the king's needs. You have the solution. But what you have to do is pray and put yourself in position. You know, Daniel get a solution. He prayed. He went and prayed. He's like, Lord, this man say he fired all of us if we don't get this job done. But for him, it was worse than being fired, right? And God gave him the solution. So that's why I like the book of Daniel. Not only did Daniel have a spirit of excellence, but it shows what you're supposed to do on the workplace so that God can advance you and use you. Right? So that's where I weigh. But this is marketing yourself, though. This is marketing yourself.
No, it is. Of course it is. I just want to kind of revisit something you just said. It's something that I always think about.
Hey,
but
am I talking too much?
No.
I'm talking too much.
No.
I'm going to be as direct and straightforward as possible, without being offensive to anybody. But I have noticed, or I have seen, that there are a lot of people, Christians and non-Christians alike, that enter a workplace. We desire all the good things. We desire promotion. We desire recognition. We desire, that the spirit of excellence be seen on us. But it's like we expect the grace of God to do it all, right? So we're not diligent in getting to work on time. We're not diligent in putting that excellent spirit into everything that we do. We have a kind of laid back approach where we don't really appreciate that we have a lot to do, in terms of, as you said, perfecting yourself on the small stage in order to turn up and perform on the bigger stage. So I just wanted to highlight, you said it, how important it is for us to do that work. Like you have to, yes, with the assistance of God or whatever, but you have to there are certain basic, elementary, professional things that would be required for you to be seen. You can't want to be promoted, but never in work. You can't want to be promoted, but always late. You understand? I don't think God is going to upstage you if you're not performing on the small stage, if you understand what I'm saying. So
Very much so.
There are times when, like, when I was younger and you wake up and it started, and this is going back to the point Marc was making about how things that happen from when you were small and things that was set and put and invested and put into you when you were small, you look back now and you see it. So like, I remember sometimes, you wake up and you're not feeling to go to school, and you just don't want to go to school, and you go to say, Mommy, Daddy, I don't want to go to school. And I will never forget, Daddy will always say, why you want to waste a stay-home day? Why you don't save your stay home for when you really need to stay home, right?
Yeah.
So you come through primary school, you come through secondary school like that. Sometimes you might get away a little bit if Daddy leave for work already and you go on and say, oh, Mommy, I can stay home and maybe you might get through. But generally speaking, I remember that from small up until now. So even as a working adult, right? When I tell myself, oh gosh, I feel like I could take a day today, right? I remember my head, Mateela, why are you wasting a day? Why are you wasting a whole day? Don't waste the day. Save the day for when you really need it. So that is diligence, that is productivity, and employers and people see these things. And these things, though as small as they are little habits that when you get them right on the small stage, as Marc was saying, when you reach a big stage, there's no issue, because there are a lot of habits and ways that we have. Yeah? They can't find you in work, your lunch is 3 hours, when they need, you're not meeting your deadlines or whatever. There is no way God could upstage you with that kind of mentality. And these things show. And it even goes back when Marc saying, you're sending in a resume that's not for a cover letter that's not formatted. 3 different fonts, 3 different size of fonts, so there are lots of little practical things I think that we need to pay attention to for self-development that I don't think God will upstage you until you get those things right. So there may be some of us that waiting for a job, right? But you wait while you're home waiting for a job, you ain't waking up on time, you must be cleaning your yard, like you're just you're not serious, in other words. Now. So like if you're not serious, you have to be serious. What you want, and I think they say like, you have to, I think they said like dress for the job you want, dress for the opportunity you want, or adopt the behaviors of. So if you want to be a Bill Gates, you can't be behaving like the random piper on Frederick Street. It's not possible. If you want to be somebody great, greatness has to be in you from now. You don't reach the big stage and then get great. So that was me just my random ranting, trying to encourage people to pay attention to the littlest of the littlest details.
I could say one thing quick.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a verse in Proverbs that says, at all times we are supposed to know the state of our flock, right? Know the state of your affairs. Because do you think that everything in your life right now that you have will just remain that way forever if you don't do something? Right? So that is that. It also says, in all labor there is profit. There's benefit to working. But talk of the lips leads to penury or want. Right? God clearly shows us there's a way to think. But I will say this story. I worked with someone once. I had the opportunity for this to sort of be responsible for this person's development, and this person was a Christian, and many Christians work amazingly and well. So that's not reason. I don't want to mischaracterize, because that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is this was a fellow believer, so there was a different type of rapport we were able to have, right? So the Bible says we are to live a life becoming of being called gods on work. So we are literally sometimes the only example somebody will ever get of somebody like you're the closest thing to Jesus somebody may ever interact with. So the way you operate sometimes is the way people think. Oh,
Yeah.
that's how, right? So, and you don't want that. But I say this to say this. We talk about being on so this person's view was, man, God's grace, Jesus' grace has me, man. Whatever I need, man, he has me, man. I don't need to do work like these people. So, okay. So then I take some verses. We talk about small scale to big scale, right? So you know that verse in the Bible that say remove the beam out your eye before you move the speck out somebody. Who said that? Jesus, right? Who said before somebody build a house, they should count the cost? Who say that?
Jesus.
Who said once had somebody that built a house on a rock and one built a house on a sand? Who say that?
Jesus.
What do all those examples have in common? They deal with building or something. You know why? You know why? Jesus was a carpenter. Jesus worked. It is the work that he did that gave him the examples to share and change people's life.
Wow.
Right? Practical work gives you a platform to change people's life. Jesus fast for days and weeks. And then you check for him, eating a sandwich, cutting thing, building a house somewhere with his brothers and family business. Right? He balanced it. We can't miss that. Right? We can't miss that. Right? We can't miss that. Right? When you look at the example of when they break the fish and the loaves.
Yeah.
Before that, he asked, hey, how much money we have anything there to go and buy? Right? There's a practical side to stuff. Right? And one of the expectations God have of us is like Jesus exemplified, be good at what you're supposed to do so you have good examples to help change people's life. If Jesus wasn't doing that craft, what did you talk about? Candles in heaven, clouds, people can't connect with that. But they could connect with the work. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I talking too much. I don't know. Do people ask questions or people have questions or anything or not?
But I feel like everybody they're there. I see now people there. Normally they just have some questions, but I find
like a run only audience, boy.
No.
I
have
audience like a run only. Sorry.
I have a question to you. Coming on to what Mateela was sharing, because I know we're winding down, and Mateela, if any questions pop up, you could just put it
Yeah,
up.
if anybody have any questions, I will try my best. But I just think it's good for me to, if anybody have any questions.
Yeah.
Something Mateela was saying, I can't remember exactly what, but she mentioned the waiting period, like getting up in the morning, or like what do you do while you're waiting? And for some people, they may be thinking, I am being diligent. I have done courses. I have applied myself, given myself to the things of God. I've done to the best of my ability everything that you've mentioned, everything that you've guided us to do to be the best us that we can be, to market ourselves properly, to have a good brand. However, 2 years passing, 3 years passing, and let's just take COVID out of the picture for a moment, because due to COVID, things have changed for a lot of
Yeah.
people. But I'm not seeing the fruits of me putting into action the kingdom principles that I have been doing relentlessly. What will you say to that person who is in that state of mind or that position?
Okay, that's a good question. So the first thing I would say is that's a tough situation. I think for anybody to pretend that's not a tough situation is a tough situation. I mean, in that situation, it feels very frustrating because you really wonder what's happening here. Now, there are a number of things. I would say 3 things you need to think about with that, right? So, first thing you probably need to think about, or one could, I can't say what you need to do, but what you could think about, right, is my desire in line with what God wants for me? I think that's the first thing you need to think about, right? So, is my desire in line with what God has for me? And that's something you just pray to the Lord, right? Because I tend to say, Lord, if it's you, open the door. If it's not you, close the door. But knowing that is really important, because we could really be spending a lot of time trying to do something and God not answering it because, hey, that's not what I have. That's not what I have for you, right? One. Second thing is, okay, is something God has for me, but probably the way I've been going about it is not the way I should go about it. And to that, right, the Bible says what we have to do is, how much of us, based on what we want to do, have written down a clear, detailed plan that we take to God. Right? There's one thing, there's thought is one thing. Thought and desire is one thing. Right? When I feel for a roti, thinking about our roti, not putting the roti in my stomach. Right? I have to go and get that, right? So what is the action plan? And the Bible promises that if we draw up a plan based on what we think God's saying, I'm paraphrasing here, but this is what the Bible's saying, it's truth, right? And we take that to God, He will cause our thoughts to align with His will. So He will help fine-tune what you want to do. Second thing. So the first thing, it could be the wrong thing you're asking for. Second thing, it could be the right thing, but you're going about it the wrong way. God is waiting, eh? The third one, which I think happens sometimes, which is the one that a little more thing, is this. Sometimes you are asking for the right thing. It is God's thing for you, but there's a season. Sometimes it's just a season of waiting, right? And what the Bible says is that's one of the fruits of the Spirit, right? To patience. But when you take that word patience, what it means? Patience there doesn't mean waiting. It means how you wait. There's an attitude in waiting that God wants us to have. If I am waiting for something that every day is frustration and I'm not in peace, God say, hey, I want you to understand, trust me, and be in peace. Go about your business in the meantime. Be in peace. The other thing I'll say that is encouraging, that I think I've experienced, that I'll share it with an example. According to what you want and asking for, you say fruit. You're doing stuff, but you're not seeing any fruit, right? Right, Candace, you're doing stuff, you're not seeing any fruit. Right? There are some fruit, depending on the size of that fruit, for the branch to carry that, the roots need to go deep. Right? So sometimes the kind of fruit that you're going to produce, or God have you to produce in this life, it may take a little longer. Right? So some of the most prolific trees and producing things on this earth, the root. Same thing in buildings, right? Same thing in buildings. The buildings people like to go and see and watch. You ever see somebody go and stand up in real amazement looking at a fire hydrant?
No.
No, right? You think the foundation of a fire hydrant different than the foundation of the Tattle building or the Twin Towers? Oh, well, not the Twin Towers now, but you know what we, right? So it just takes time sometimes, depending on the fruit that you have to deliver. It will take a little more time to think. There's another example, and I hope I'm not sounding on too much height. There are particular types of trees, amazing fruit. And the only fruit that they actually pick and sell is like the third seasoning. The first sets of fruit they take all and throw away. There are some trees, they have to shed some fruit once. Shed some fruit. It's tempting. But it have to go through 3 seasons, and the fruit after 3 seasons tastes very different than the fruit after the first. So I hope that's not too much heights, but that's how I'll answer that question. It's a frustrating thing, but there are 3 instances we need to think, right? So I think I'm officially talking too much on the show, boy. All the changing
was
their mind about me.
The people are responding. Look,
All they changing all their mind about me.
no, Fabe's laughing. They're there. They're there.
Man.
They're there. Look, they're there. But it's just so good. They're there. They're just good. You know, you see that last thing you say there, unless Candace have any other question or you have anything else you want to say, I think I'm going to ask you to do a mic drop. Candace will let you know what the mic drop really is, right? But I think we can wrap up there substantively on the last 4 or 5 points you make, and I think I will note them for later on, because let me just say, so look, people say they're there, Mark, you're speaking to the situation, keep talking, Mark, preach. They're asking you to preach, brother, preach, right? But
that's good. I'm talking to myself too.
So the thing is, we know what the other episode with Mark is supposed to be about, and I think the 3 or 4 things you just laid out is the perfect platform for that episode, because I have my experience to share there. Candace has her experience to share there. Ideally, we wanted it to be the last episode, but we'll see how scheduling goes. I feel like maybe it should follow immediately after this, as in the next episode. But we'll talk about that off air. But I can definitely tell you, you see them last points there, that waiting. And that waiting applies in professional, non-professional, other life areas as well. That waiting period does be something else.
Yeah.
You know,
I've been in professional situations. Like, boy, this can't be good, boy. This can't be like, God, what's this, boy? Really, boy? I serving you in this situation I in, boy?
Yeah.
You know? But yes, it was a situation I in. Right? Because it come after 2 years later and a situation come up and I know how to operate.
Exactly.
And that's what the good thing is always being able to look back and say, I now see or I now understand why I had to go through that particular situation. And then
what we have to remember, and what we have to remember, if you're serving God, again, everybody, I know our audience is mixed, right? Some people may be serving God, some people may not be serving God. The goal here is practical advice across the board. Hopefully everybody serve God, because, you know, it's my belief that is the best thing to do, right? But just from a practical perspective, from God, pay is not God a problem for God. Promotion is not a problem for God. The job you do, all that God can do like this. Part of the reason you're on a job is to impact other people's life. And that always has to be at the forefront of your mind. Right? Remember, if you serving God and everybody around you not serving God, the thing God most interested about is changing their life and changing yours at the same time. The other things are just add-ons. Right? You take care of that, God will take care of the add-ons. Easier said than done, but
boy. I mean, I have nothing else to say. You know, and I mean, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of thoughts and a lot of perspectives. Like, there's a lot for people to go away and think about, particularly like them last 4 points on that waiting. Candace, I'm really glad you asked that question, Marc A, I like the response because that's exactly how I will see if we could talk to the team to snip that as the starting point for the second episode we have with you, because that's like the perfect launching pad for what we want to talk about in the next season, in the next episode. So, Keisha is saying here that, the advice and the words are right on point because she waiting. And I guess now is a good time in the middle of your wait. So for the people who waiting at home, waiting for a job, waiting for promotion, waiting to change a job, whatever the case might be, catch the episode again on YouTube. Listen to what Marc was saying. Listen to the advice. I think there's a lot of nuggets I think that were shared and gems that we could pick and run with and apply. So Candace, if you just let Marc do a little mic drop. We don't have time for the theatrics of the mic drop, but you could explain to him what it is.
Oh, sure.
And that will be a wrap.
Okay. Marc, mic drop is, I will give you a word. For example, phone case. Well, that's 2 words. Phone case. And you have to say something with the theme of today. How can a phone case be used to market itself or in the waiting or anything that you would have touched on today? Yeah. So I will give you a word and you have to elaborate on that particular word in the context of today's topic. Understand?
I'm gonna put my cap there.
Mic drop.
So,
that kind of thing.
About the dropping mic.
Wait. Let me try and see if I can get it here. Let me do the theatrics. All right. So we ready for mic drop?
Okay.
All right, Marc. So when you mic drop, so Candace will give you the word and you know what you have to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so mic drop. No, I'm gonna do the mic. Yeah, I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna try.
Okay.
All right. So ready for mic drop in 3, 2, 1. Hold on.
All right, Marc, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready for my
This one gonna be real hard. This is the hardest one I'm ever going to give. My word is roti.
Roti. And how roti could help you while you're trying to market yourself?
Any way you want to say it. Whether you want to talk about the wrapping of the roti, the packaging of the roti, the making of the story of the roti.
Roti is your object.
Okay, roti's my object. So let's go. Right. So based on stuff we were talking about today, I think there are a number of things that roti could provide a very good illustration of marketing yourself and waiting. Right. So think about this. Right. First of all, the best tasting roti. Right. When you see a real nice dal pre or paratha, right? And you just see it have little brown spots on it on the outside. Well, them brown spots come from the heat of the tower, right? And sometimes in life, I think that roti get them brown spots by waiting a bit on the tower. But sometimes when you're waiting, it's hot, right? But without that heat, you wouldn't get nice silky roti with them little burning thing on it, right? You have to sometimes wait a bit, get your little brown patches, which means your little thing sometimes a little hurt thing, but those things make you more tasty, right? When it's time for it to be used. Now, roti don't go by itself. So sometimes to market yourself properly, you have to share, you have to cover people, you have to get with people and take care of them. So you have to reach out to some chana, some pumpkin, some tamarind. So that's what I like in roti, just chana, pumpkin, and tamarind. So you get a little chana, a little pumpkin, a little tamarind sauce, right? Because after that, right, roti, right, is everything all together. So to market yourself properly, right, you have to take some time on the tower, right? The best ingredients without waiting is raw roti. You can eat that. Right? So you need to do that. And then you need to understand that it takes all kind of ingredients in different times, different seasons. While the roti on here, One party you can be here, the next party you can be the chana cooking over so, the next part is the pumpkin over so, but when them things cooking, it not making sense. Chana so, potato so, side so, shadow belly so, thyme so, chicken so, everything in different places. But when everything cook up and ready, it come together and it make roti.
Wow. Woo! You
So
ate
take
it,
time
man.
and wait, because I see people talking about waiting, and
Right.
it really don't feel good.
Yeah.
Right? But it really is something that we have to learn to do. What I will say is while waiting, ask God what you're supposed to do. There are things I had to learn recently in waiting for something. I'll share quick, like roti, right? There are things that alter your control. There are things that in your control. What I was doing was real focusing on the things I couldn't control. And I was neglecting the things I could do in the meantime. And if I focus on them that I could do in the meantime, then when it's showtime, I ready. Right? So sometimes when you're waiting, it could feel a certain way. But what could I do in the meantime that prepare me best? Because, especially if you're following God on this call, one of the things we have to do, it's impossible to please God without faith. And what faith is? Faith is you want something, you seen it go down happen, but it don't happen unless you live a life that exhibit the behavior of what you want before you actually get what you want. And that takes some waiting, right? So roti, you take a little heat on the tower. It's not easy, you know. It's not easy to heat on the tower, especially if it's ghee on the tower. This is God put ghee on that tower. Get ready, you know. But it thing, right? So that's what I was.
That mic drop, yes.
Yeah, that was my mic drop. They have to represent. That was my mic drop there.
Well, Marc, thank you very much for taking time out.
Candace, that was okay.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
That was a good mic drop. Okay.
Yeah, that was perfect. You minister
Right.
to the roti.
That is a roti boy. I like
Marc,
roti.
thanks so much for coming on today. We really appreciate it. It
my absolute pleasure. And I thank you.
This session, if anything, this session was for me. You spoke to me and wow, some serious nuggets. And I look forward with great anticipation to our next episode with you guys. For the next episode, you'll hear Marc's story. The journey he took, the unorthodox turns and twists he made. But it really came down to his faith and him knowing exactly where he wanted to go with God. So next session, we will keep you all updated on the page. So let you all know when you will have Marc next or when our next session will be. It will be for sure the usual schedule date, but we'll let you all know who will be on that time. So I don't know if Mateela has nothing else to say. I think that's a wrap for today.
I don't have anything else to say. But thanks, Marc, for coming, taking time out of your schedule, Sunday evening time.
No
I know my favorite little boy in the whole world, Ari Dandan, he watching and he probably outside waiting for you. I don't know. So I saying hello to Ari. Hello to Ari. Say hello to Ari. Hello to Adeli. Hello to Michelle.
Yes.
Give Ari Dandan a little big up, a little shout out now.
Yeah.
Man like Ari Daniel.
Yeah, Ari, Adeli, love you all very much. Michelle, love you so much. That's all. And that's so much. God is good, right? Hey, the thing I'll say, Mateela, is if anybody, I think on Facebook, if anybody have any question or anything, please, could I say that?
Yes, you can.
Okay. These days you don't know what you could say or can't say on platforms. But if anybody, feel free with any, I'll be glad to share any resources, anything, just reach out on Facebook. I'll be so glad to do that.
Sure. Oh, look, Ari's saying love you too, Daddy. Through his
yes,
yeah, from Ari and Adeli. Until Laurel, we have the YouTube channel. So as soon as the episode is finished, we'll take it down and we'll put it up on YouTube channel and we'll share the link on the Facebook page for those who were unable to join us. So Marc, thank you very much again, Candace.
Hey, thank you.
Always a pleasure. And everybody have a good evening. Enjoy the holiday tomorrow and have a great week until we meet again. Bye.
Hey, enjoy the holiday. Bye.
Oh, I forget. I'm supposed to do the outro kind of thing, yes, but all right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye,
What's
guys.
outro?